the show that dines out on former glories. The Football League Files is back with another classic from United's past. The year is 1974, horror of horrors. United have been relegated for the first time in 37 years. The fight back from Division 2 starts with a team packed with youthful exuberance.
Pulled across for Law! Dennis has done it! And no elation there at all from Dennis Law. We've got an invasion of the pitch that we could well do without. And I suspect that
I feel very, very certain. I've never been as certain of anything in my life. This club will return next year to where it should never have left. It's the First Division.
I gave Tommy Doherty a chance to get rid of some of the dead wood at the club. Brought some new players. I got the players into the habit of winning. I think the support increased because we were winning. And it was never as easy a season as Lou McCarry used to say.
And after about 5 games, when we would banged in 4 or 5 goals in each game, and we'd hit 2 or 3 teams here for 4, the penny dropped with us all that it was going to be almost a formality to get out of the division.
We played exciting, attacking football because the public at Old Trafford demanded that, and that's what they got, home and away.
That was the scene then. No glamour trips for United to the likes of Liverpool, City or Arsenal. Oldham and York were on the agenda, and witnessing that change of temperature, that change of scenery, Lou McCarry and Alex Stepney. Alex, you're smiling now. They weren't particularly happy days for the club, though, were they?
No, they weren't. I mean, obviously this season we went down. Like everything else, you know, if you don't get the points, you deserve to go down, and that was it. But going and play in the second division it was then, we had to get off to a flyer, and hopefully we would.
How embarrassing was that relegation for this great football club from the top tier?
Well, everyone expects Manchester United to be in the top league, Jim, so, you know, we were embarrassed, we were disappointed. But the biggest thing was we just didn't know what to expect in Division 2. Not having been there before, and the opposition, you mentioned a couple of the teams, you probably thought, or we probably thought at the time, this would be quite easy for us, but you didn't know until we started off. We started off this game, and the games that followed, we got better, and we got better as a team. And I think come the end of the season, when we bounced back, I think it had been a great help just to be winning football matches every week. Gave us a great deal of confidence.
You were the great survivor, weren't you? You were the sort of the black box in the team, if you like. I think the only survivor from the European Cup winning side.
Exactly, Jim. I think throughout my career here, I mean, I played under 5 managers, so I must have been doing something right. But yeah, I mean, it was a situation, like Lou said, you know, we didn't know what to expect. I hadn't played in the second division before. I mean, I played in the lower division when I was at Millwall, but it was going to be we thought it was going to be a hard slog, and it was to a certain extent until we got on a few runs and obviously finished up winning.
I didn't understand that, Jim, what you just touched on. All the big names had gone. Because when I came from Celtic, one of the reasons I came was Bobby Charlton, Dennis Law, and people like that. And all of a sudden, one by one, they're out the door. Obviously, George Best as well. I mean, those were 3 massive names. And within the space of a couple of years, all those names had gone with everybody else. And I think Alex and Willie Morgan, I think you're the only 2 survivors.
You said you got the likes of Forsyth, of Daly and McCallie and people like that. Do you think that was the reason for the relegation, that the team just got old together and left and wasn't adequately replaced?
I'm not so sure about that. I think maybe the doc was a little bit hasty. I mean, getting rid of people like Dennis Law, no matter what age they had, Bobby Charlton, Bestie. I mean, when I came and actually trained with Bobby Charlton, I couldn't believe it. I'd been a Celtic player and I knew of Bobby playing in England and Bestie, and Dennis with the Scotland team. But actually training with them and realising how great they were, I couldn't believe it when they were showing the door. I just think that was a little bit hasty.
What about the culture shock? You've got to go to places like Oxford, you've got to go to places like York. I mean, from the big arenas, you're going to the postage stamps almost.
It was like playing in a third round FA Cup tie every week. You know, if you get drawn against one of the lower league teams, and that's how it was. And we had to face up to it. And you know, I suppose really although like Lewis said, most of the experienced players are gone. Some of the players that we had the experience to get through these games as well.
How did he survive then?
Well, it was a real achievement, let me say that, Jim. But a big help to us at the time, before we kicked off, was the crowd. Because starting from the game at Orient, I believe there's United supporters queuing the night before, and we probably didn't anticipate that was going to happen. And all the games to follow, full house, big support home and away, and I think they helped us through that season.
Yeah, we'll see that game in just a moment, of course. So United on the canvas, trying to get back. Meantime, another giant had established their dominance on the world stage.
I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the dead.
West Germany won it on home soil, which is always fantastic, just like it was for England in 1966 at Wembley.
I do always remember, though, vaguely remember West Germany playing in it. I always remember the conditions. It was absolutely pouring down for most of the games. Just remember, like, West Germany winning it, but the conditions of the pitches and stuff like that, and the weather was really poor. Dutch team was fantastic. That's a time like the Ajax boys, like with Cruyff and Neeskens and Johnny Rep and all them coming through, Rudy Krol, all them coming through. Did they beat Brazil in that tournament? And that was a sort of like stance of them coming through. They were unbelievable.
Did they take the lead, Holland, and then they got a penalty, Germany? And I'll tell you something, you never seen the biggest dive you've ever done in your life, the German done, and he got a penalty for it. I think it was the equaliser. The Germans were always doing that. They were always doing that before anybody else ever done it. But no, Leeds United were doing it. They were good at it, Leeds United.
There was a crucial game, if memory serves me right there, which was West Germany v East Germany in the World Cup finals, not final, in the finals itself. I remember that game was so tense, the West v the East and so on, and again, it's getting a bit hazy, but I think East Germany won it. I think there's a single goal in it, and East Germany won it, which was a huge shock to West Germany, and it probably was the moment that actually helped them win the World Cup. Because they rearranged and were so shocked and so on after that they sort of turned it around and got it together for the World Cup final, and West Germany won the World Cup final.
Three-day week, that was a joke, an absolute joke what it done to the people of this country, 3-day week.
It was a hugely difficult time for people, and the fact that you had to be worried about when you're going to have your power, when you weren't, so what you do with meals and all the rest of it. It was massive at the time, and a great time to be a journalist working on this big story, but it was not a good time for the country. It was sort of dark days, and you wondered, how are we ever going to get out of this?
They don't pay for the work, they wouldn't pay the people to work. They introduced it, but it was a bit like today in actual fact, what they're doing today. There's only a certain clientele that are paying for the problems today, and that's the ones at the bottom, not the ones at the top.
It was incredible, really, that the working man, if you like, was flying off to Spain and so on and so on. It really was revolutionary. Manchester Airport, as you call it, I in those days would still know it as Ringway Airport, where we used to cycle from Wythenshawe Estate as a sort of half-day out to view the two planes that would come in and go out.
In those days, you would head off on a package holiday. Portugal was the favourite, still is with a lot of people, and I would go to Portugal quite a lot, fly into Faro.
And I went to, with a pal of mine, again, Brian Green up to Torremolinos. That was one of my first sort of holidays abroad to Spain. With Brian Green off the Torremolinos, yeah.
I think what was extraordinary about that period was that the extent to which a lot of people who wouldn't have considered themselves as having the kind of means and being the sort of people to just get on an airplane and go somewhere, suddenly started to do it. And so in a sense it was an incredible liberation for a lot of people.
I remember one occasion where they were sitting on the beach and we're having a drink and we laughed. My daughter's about 3 years of age and I'm sitting with George and George says to me, "Is that your daughter out there?" I says, "Where?" She's about 50, 60 yards into the sea. She couldn't swim. George got up like a shot, woof, and I had her back up beside us and a couple of set. George wasn't a swimmer either, but he, poof, looked quicker than I was. And he did. God knows where she'd have finished up if George had to run down. There were great days in Mallorca then as well, because you met everybody from the... If people realised how friendly footballers were off the pitch, that was the period of time to do it.
When I was growing up, cricket, I used to follow cricket, Yorkshire cricket quite closely, so Yorkshire, Lancashire. But it was partly the fact that they played at Old Trafford that made me feel then that Manchester was a really, really big and important part of Lancashire. And as it became Greater Manchester, I think to be honest, although it's in a sense suggests a decline of Lancashire as a concept, Manchester now is such a big thing in its own right. I think it's probably right.
Every time I go across the Mersey at Stratford / Sale, I still remember, oh, that used to be the old border. Stratford was in Lancashire, Sale was in Cheshire. Lancashire Cricket Club was at Old Trafford.
I think it is a great shame that boundaries were changed and people lose their identity and moved into different counties. Some people suddenly were in Cheshire and things like that. People who were in Cheshire suddenly weren't, and that didn't please them very much because they a bit special being Cheshire.
Whenever a team from this part of the world got to the cup final, the great thing about the cup final, which I was fortunate enough to play one in '63, there was a medley of songs from whichever county. If it was Lancashire, you got all the songs about Lancashire, and if it was Yorkshire, all the songs about... They'd have a band up playing and everybody was singing "She's a Lassie from Lancashire." That was one of the main songs, so we're not in Lancashire now, we're Greater Manchester. Oh, no.
It sent them rocketing, didn't they? They become then one of the most famous groups ever after that. ABBA, they went on for years and sold loads of records.
Eurovision Song Contest was always popular then, you always watched, but I thought they were a great group. I thought they were terrific, actually.
They tended to be a lot of silly little catchy tunes, Puppet on the Strings, and I got to know Dana quite well. What did she sing? All kinds of everything that won it. I mean, anyway, but you always knew the sort that would win it. But ABBA was a bit different when it came along, and it was just very special. And of course, they sort of kept you watching, but it was just very special. I never thought they were going to become Beatles-like, mind you, at the time. But I just remember it so well, and it was the obvious song to win, and you were all rooting for it. And sure enough, it became a huge hit.
1974, that was then West Germany were the world champions. England hadn't made it to that particular World Cup, but Scotland had, Lou.
Yeah, and a lot of good players at the time, Jim, and you know, I think when the manager had to select his eventual 20 or 22 players, I think he had about 50 to pick from. I mean, changed days, haven't they? I mean, Scotland at this moment in time, if you took away the team that plays for them in the World Cup qualifier, you'd struggle to find another 11. But back then there was plenty of players in the United team from Scotland, because I came down, then Alex Forsyth and one or two others, Jim Holton, and there was plenty of Scottish players going to other teams in the top league and in the second division. So no lack of talent, but things have changed since then, obviously.
6'2", eyes are blue, big Jim Holton's after you.
That's right. And you didn't argue with him.
Embedded in there. And of course England didn't make it in '74 because of that clown of a goalkeeper, Tomaszewski, who played so well at Wembley, didn't he?
Wasn't that a great statement by Brian Clough, I think it was? Yeah, it was, I mean, he had the game of his life at Wembley. One of those things, and England were out, got beat 1-0.
How near were you to England duty in that particular era, Alex? You can't have been that far off, you know.
I went to Mexico in '70. And like Lou said, even then, you know, England had the players. I think Alf picked originally 40 early on, about March, which obviously went down to the 22, which I got in with Peter Bonetti and Gordon Banks. But even Jim Montgomery was another reserve, so there was about 40, like 50 players to pick from.
Yeah. In '78, Jim, I eventually got in the team to Argentina We started off with 80 players. And when I saw 8-0, when I saw the 8-0 numbers, or the names rather, I didn't think I had a cat in hell's chance of getting there. Then it was whittled down to 40. I was even more convinced when we went down to 40 players that I wasn't going to make it. And the relief came when they announced the final 22, and I was one of those 22. But before that, Archie Gemmell, Asa Hartford, Graham Souness, Kenny Dalglish, Don Masson, Bruce Rioch, could go on and on. I just didn't think I'd make it. But there was plenty of players to choose from.
OK, we mustn't jump ahead of ourselves. That year was 1978. The year we're looking at now is 1974. And in a couple of minutes' time, we'll see United starting in the second division against the O's, the Orient, at Brisbane Road. You're watching the Football League Files. It is August 1974. United have been relegated from the top tier. They're starting life in the second division at the cramped little ground that is Brisbane Road, home of the Orient. Your commentator's Brian Moore.
The Orient fielded the side that drew last week with Luton in the Texaco Cup, where Tom Whalley 6 and Jerry Queen 10 were the scorers. Now Manchester United, also unchanged from their last pre-season match, a 1-1 draw at Hull, a United side with 3 Scottish World Cup players in it, 5 Jim Holton, 6 Martin Buchan, and the number 7, of course, their skipper, Willie Morgan. And at 9, their £200,000 signing from Hull, Stuart Pearson. The referee today is John Yates from Redditch, and now the crowd waits in the sunshine for a start to the new season.
So the new season is underway as Manchester United set about getting their bearings in the second division, attacking the goal to our left here at the Orient. Manchester United all in white. Orient in the cherry red shirts that Manchester United usually wear. White shorts and black stockings. So the surroundings might be different for Manchester United, but their support is as fantastic as ever. I gather there were even people waiting outside this Orient ground last night when Orient manager George Petchey was making his way home, intending to sleep out in East London to be sure of seeing their favourites again in action here this afternoon. Manchester United, who won only 3 games away from home in the First Division last season, against Orient, who missed promotion to the First Division by a single point. Everything hinging on their last game of the season. Here's Bill Roffey, the number 3, with the throw for Orient. Bullock coming off him well. And Posse finding Mickey Bullock again. Now it's with Tom Whalley, who scored a stupendous goal last week against Luton. Finding Posse, turned inside, and an overhead kick there by Bullock. Straight to the arms of Alex Stepney, the only Londoner in this Manchester United side. Forsyth. Macari. So it's a free kick then to Man United. Forsyth again taking it. McCalliog's the man he's aiming for, and McCalliog in fact got the header in. That's 2 or 3 times in this game that long crosses, particularly from the right, have caught Orient a little bit lacking in height in the defence, and being won either by Holton, on that occasion by the number 10 Jim McCalliog. That time Holton didn't quite get to it in the air, but there's Daly back in support, this young Irishman. Stuart Pearson going off, being hounded though by Harris. Pearson shows a fair bit of pace and a lot of determination by the way he went in there on Hoadley. I'm not at all sure that it was an entirely fair challenge. Bullock. Good play by Buchan. Macalliog to Greenough. Macari for Greenough again, and Hoadley is in a bit of trouble. Good ball there to Buchan, and cross deep for Willie Morgan in a lot of space on that far side across the Orient goal. Good sweeping attack there by Manchester United, helped I think by the fact that Phil Hoadley was injured, but Morgan not far wide with that final shot of his. Willie Morgan, who had a lot of trouble with an eye after an accident while he was playing tennis in the summer, was telling me just before the game that he's still got to go back to hospital for them to have another look at it. Played in there towards Posse, and it'll fall for Fairbrother instead. Here's Heppelet now, with time maybe to get a cross in, taking on Houston. Finding it stopped by McCalliog, but Fisher by now coming to support him, so Heppelet might get another cross in. That time it was blocked by Daly. And here's Houston. Buchan calling hard for it, taking the responsibility there well. Hoadley, that'll fall for Brian Greenough. And look at Morgan in so much space now. Willie Morgan for Manchester United. And that's a beautiful goal. That is a beautiful goal. Scored by Willie Morgan. Made for him, without doubt, by Brian Greenough in another beautiful sweeping Manchester United move. Greenough away to Morgan in so much space. Morgan took his time and his aim was perfect. And the Orient fans are silent. Manchester United fans are jubilant as Manchester United score their first goal in the second division. Well, that's about the first mistake that Willie Morgan's made this afternoon, and he's still got a fair bit on the credit side after that fine goal. Roffey keeping it in, but only for Brian Greenough. Willie Morgan. Past Roffey. Morgan just sizing up the situation in the middle, but then beaten away unfairly by Jerry Queen. So it's a free kick to Manchester United, which Greenough will take. Jim Holton's come up for this one. In fact, they've got everybody up. And there's Pearson's header. And Jackson was in a lot of trouble getting that one away. That was a good save in the end by Jackson from Stuart Pearson's header. Fairbrother going in. Bullock stretching out, and Wally collecting now, brought down by Daly. And a free kick to Orient. Certainly wasn't an intentional trip there by Daly. And John Yates using his discretion there on Tom Wally. But it had to be a free kick. Now, can Orient pull something out in the last seconds of this first half? Bullock is there with a glancing header, but it's a goal kick. And there, in fact, is the half-time whistle. And a very satisfactory first half indeed for Manchester United, back in the second division. Going into half-time with the lead in their favour, the goal being scored by Willie Morgan, and a superb goal it was as well. Manchester United looking the better side throughout this first half, Orient looking a little overawed. But the half-time score here then at Brisbane Road Orient is Orient 0, Manchester United 1.
Massive travelling support for United at Brisbane Road on that day. United a goal to the good through skipper Willie Morgan. The second half is coming right up here on the Football League Files. It's August 1974. The Football League Files are at a packed Brisbane Road. Half-time, Orient 0, Manchester United 1. The scorer, the skipper, Willie Morgan. Let's rejoin Brian Moore.
So welcome back then as we start the second half, with Orient now attacking the goal to our left. A goal down to Manchester United and to Willie Morgan. Tom Wally to Heppelet. Clearly the thing that must be uppermost in Manchester United minds is that they want to string one or two good results together early on in the season to put behind them all the unhappy memories of last season and to build to something really much more positive this season. Return to the first division. Well, if they get a good result here, remembering they only had 3 away wins all last season, against a side that did so well in the second division last season, they'll know they're on the right tracks. But I'm sure Orient have still got a lot left in them, and here's Ricky Heppelet. Now, can Fairbrother get this one over? Well, it was a poor cross, and McCalliog had the simplest of jobs, getting it behind for the corner. Very Fairbrother, tenacious little worker. But really wasn't a very good cross there. Here's Posse now with the corner. They've certainly planted enough red shirts forward this time. Wally is one of them, but it goes completely in the wrong direction off his head for a goal kick to Manchester United. Pearson and Roffey, and a throw to Manchester United. Morgan to Pearson. Played on nicely by Pearson there for Daly. Corner to United. Which Willie Morgan will take. Daly for Morgan. Nice little change of pace there by Morgan. And a foul there by Queen on Morgan, I think that's going to be. Yes, it's a free kick, it's not a corner. So a chance for Brian Greenough, or maybe Alex Forsyth, to chip a dangerous little ball into that Orient penalty area. In fact, they've driven it instead, and Pearson very nearly got on the end of it just to toe poke it in. That sort of free kick are devastating for defences. They need just the mildest deflection to poke them in, and Pearson very nearly provided that one with it. And here's Bullock. Played on for Heppelet again. He's got a good cross in there, and Stepney with Posse challenging, and the ball is still bubbling about there, and it's still play on, says the referee, and finally off Bullock, and it's still not away, and then Houston heads it away for Willie Morgan. The referee believing that that challenge by Posse on the goalkeeper was fair, and Queen challenging Morgan a little crudely. And Manchester United now get a free kick. Harris towards Posse, and Forsyth, I think, caught Posse on the back of the head as well. Now it's Bullock. Played in again for Bill Roffey. Touched on for Harris. Here's Roffey again. Queen. Wally riding through that challenge by Greenough and getting his cross in. A good one! Posse! Well, what an incredible mix-up there. Posse almost got there with his header. And then in the end, when it was still bubbling about there and he was falling, he very nearly hooked it in. So Manchester United have had two little escapes there in skirmishings in their 6-yard area, but still lead by a goal to nil. A lovely cross there, and Posse very nearly making something of it. In fact, there was an infringement. Heppelet's header. Bullock off, and Orient now looking a better side as Fairbrother goes through. And Fairbrother just wide. Much more like it from Orient. You would hardly have recognised them for so long in that first half from the side that did so much last season. But in the last couple of minutes, they've begun to look the part again. Fairbrother so close there. Holton to Greenough. Played dangerously there, and it still could be dangerous, but it won't quite reach Wally, and Greenough recovered quickly enough. Wally now to Roffey. Played inside again for Jerry Queen. Back again for Wally, and now again for Roffey, and a little bit of space to get this cross in. If he can get round Forsyth, which he can. Oh, good bit of play there by Orient, and United were in trouble. Nice build-up down the left there involving Wally and Roffey. A lovely cross by Roffey that had Alex Stepney and the United defence in all sorts of trouble. So a corner on the far side then to Orient. Posse will take it. Harris was right in there. Will it come for Heppelet? Diving in there with a header. Houston got it away. Posse in there with the header. Wally will be able to play it wide here for Bill Roffey. Onto that left foot again by Roffey. Well, the height and the power were right, the direction was wrong. Fisher back for Jackson. Now Harris taking that from Hoadley. Wally, little flick forward. They are looking so much better in this second half, Orient. But Buchan will get that one away. But it's Orient now who are beginning to pounce on things that are loose in the middle of the field, although that was McCalliog there for Manchester United. And away goes Stuart Pearson. But Orient have got 4 men back, so Pearson still has a lot to do. But he's still going on, Pearson. There's the cross by him. That almost could have been a goal. Roffey, in fact, just got a foot to it. As good play there by Pearson. Beautiful play by him. Went on. And Roffey just got the foot to it as Morgan came in. Pearson, again a tricky bounce that beat Harris that time. Here's McElroy now. And Harris belting it away to Posse. So Forsyth will take it up. But Roffey to contend with, free kick. Roffey tripping Forsyth. Chance for Manchester United to take the pressure off their end of the field. And they've left only Martin Buchan back. Buchan and Posse are the only men, other than Alex Stepney, who have stayed back. So that really is a crowded Orient penalty area. As Forsyth chips it into the far side towards Houston. Oh, and what a header! And it's there by Houston! 2-0. Well, they put so many men forward, Manchester United. And as Forsyth's free kick came over, Houston got above them all, in off the post. And that's 2-0. So Stuart Houston, who scored only 2 goals in the league last season for Manchester United after joining them from Brentford, has already got 1 this season. And I would think, unless there is a remarkable Orient revival now, that would just about make it safe now for Manchester United, although here's Fairbrother. McElroy back with just over a quarter of an hour to go. Pearson hard after this one, and finally Harris rather can turn it back to Jackson. And I think the linesman on the far side is in some trouble. He was injured just now. Now whether he can go on or not, I think the game is being stopped, and I think we might well find that either the linesman is going to get a bit of treatment, Tommy Kavanagh's running that way, or there might be an appeal for a qualified referee to take over the line for the last few minutes of the game. So the linesman in trouble. Mr. Gregory of Woking. So Mr. Gregory of Woking, the linesman on the far side. Brian Winston, the Orient chairman, has also got down there to see what they can do. And already there is a gentleman stripping off saying that I'm a qualified referee and I am happy to run the line for the last, 4 minutes of the game. So Manchester United have got a substitute on, Sammy McElroy. It looks as though we're going to get a substitute linesman as well. He's also going to have Tommy Kavanagh's tracksuit top. Well, that's something to tell the fellas this weekend. The day I was on the line, when Manchester United were on the field against Orient. And there is the cordon of police. It'll be a throw, and it's given to Orient. Our substitute linesman making his first decision there. Quite a good long one as well there. Now Bullock, can he do anything? It's a corner. So Posse now will take it, but as we are well into injury time, there really doesn't seem to be time enough for Orient to get anything very profitable out of this game. Bullock couldn't get to that header, and it's Holton leading them away. Towards Pearson, that's 1 against 1 now, and has he got the beating of Harris? Still with Pearson, Roffey coming back to support his defence. It'll be with Daly now. Back again for Willie Morgan, aware that Queen is hard behind him. And Wally can get this one away for Orient. Good header there by Houston to McCalliog. Again, the referee looking at his watch. We're well into injury time as it's crossed in once more towards Pearson. Harris getting that one away. Here's Posse, and there goes the final whistle. Impressive Manchester United, well deserving their 2-0 victory. A good start for them in the second division. A victory with goals by Willie Morgan in the first half, and then one by Stuart Houston in the second half. There's Houston number 3, whose header really wrapped up this game for United. And well, they deserved it. As the young fans come on, I think we should be seeing a lot of Manchester United on the evidence of this game towards the top of the second division this season. So we have then a final scoreline here on the first league game of the season. Orient 0, Manchester United 2.
Winning starter for United in the second division then in the East End of London. We'll chat about it with Lou and with Alex. That linesman might just get a mention, mightn't he?
Wouldn't happen nowadays, would it?
We'll see you shortly for that. We've enjoyed the first game of the 74-75 season. United going to Brisbane Road in the East End of London and winning by 2-0 despite a spirited comeback by the O's in the second half. Was it that way, Alex? Did teams raise themselves because Manchester United were in town?
Every game, absolutely every game. I mean, and I suppose really, you know, the fact is that we knew we had some hard games and not the big stadiums. They're all enclosed, you know, and the crowds, full houses wherever we went. I mean, we had some difficult games, Blackpool, Millwall, those sort of games. Very hard to sort of get results in.
But you did get results, and you worth saying you went up at the end of that particular season. You won the league. Yeah,
I think the first one was a big result for us, Jim, because when we got relegated, if my memory serves me right, we didn't win that many away games. I think possibly 3 all season. So to kick off a new season, winning away from home, gives you a great deal of confidence. And I think that confidence and the fact that you were scoring goals and winning most weeks, you know, helped us along the way. But I remember some games at Old Trafford that because you were expected to win, the pressure was on you. And about 4 or 5 games in a row here, when Alex is saying full house, 55,000, I can remember us being behind at half time and getting in the dressing room. And for about 4 or 5 weeks, it was the same story. And then we got back into our stride in the second half and we ended up all those games winning them. So with a great belief in ourselves, even if we went behind now, we could come back and go on and win the game.
Coming back to that opening day of the season, Willie Morgan, skipper that day, what was it? He had a bit of trouble with his eye, got a tennis ball in his eye during the summer or something like that, was it?
Well, I think he thought he was beyond ball, you know. I mean, in the summer he would go out and he said he was a master at everything, you know, other sports as well. But yeah, I think a tennis ball hit him in the eye, and but he recovered from it, no problem. He
recovered from it that day because he chipped in a very, very handy-looking goal for you, got you off the mark in the second division.
Yeah, he did. It was a great run from Willie and a great goal, and I don't think he scored that many in his time. I mean, obviously I caught the end of his career, but Alex, you'll be in a better position to say. I'm not so sure he was a prolific goal scorer. But it was a great run and he still had a bit to do to finish and over the goalkeeper into the back of the net. Great start for us.
Willie Morgan wearing number 7. Something of an unlikely skipper, wasn't he, Willie Morgan? I wouldn't have him down as one of the all-time great skippers here at Man United.
No, but the thing was, he'd been with a Doc, you know, with Scotland. And I think he had part of something to say about him coming to Old Trafford. So.
And there's that great travelling support that stayed overnight, camped overnight outside Brisbane Road to see you guys. Didn't matter what league you're in, they'd travel to see you.
It was amazing, Jim, when we arrived at the ground. I can remember 2 things, the massive support we had there and the number of police. There was police everywhere. And, you know, when you watch the game as well, you see plenty of police continually going around the ground.
Yes.
But great start for us and really the start we needed.
And you sealed the result with a goal from Stuart Houston, who I think scored about once every 15 games in his career here. But it's a pretty straightforward goal, but I guess a very, very powerful header at the end of it.
He was very good at that. I mean, he's left back. He was a tall lad, and obviously he came up for free kicks like this. And I mean, it was an absolutely fantastic header. I mean, the keeper had no chance. John had no chance there, in off the post.
And again, simplicity is beauty in this particular game, isn't it? And we've seen loads of goals scored like that, but the delivery has to be good, Lou, and obviously the finish as well.
Yeah, good ball from Alex Forsyth and a great header from Stuart. And you just see the reaction of the crowd there, Jim, and that was a great thing about that season. All your friends went to the games. They used to leave, especially to London, the day before it, make a weekend of it. And that support stayed with us, even though we'd been relegated, stayed with us right from the beginning, right to the very end.
Just one little thing. You kept goal, no gloves.
No gloves.
What's the story there then?
Well, I mean, you saw the pitch. I mean, there was no water on the pitch. I mean, it was a perfect pitch. Didn't have gloves nowadays. You know, I mean, it's one of those things. You just put a bit of spit on your hand, bit of dirt, and that was it.
And you do that until the winter nights set in, or until?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how it went. I mean, I did have some sort of cotton gloves, and if I wanted them, but they weren't as like they have today.
Not too many goalkeepers go barehanded today, do they? Not really. And you don't see too many linesmen coming out of the crowd as well. This was a wonderful cameo from this particular game, Lou.
This is brilliant because as soon as he gets his top on to be the linesman, very quickly, Jim, he's got a big decision to make right in front of him. Yeah.
Well, what are we going to do? Here he comes with a pretty sort of fashionable shirt in those times. Well, are you a qualified? Yeah. That's fine. Get me on. Right. What you going to? You can't run the line in that shirt. Goodness me. so Tommy Cabot obliges.
What about the Leyton Orient chairman?
Yeah.
A cigar?
Yeah, with a cigar on. Yeah. And this is, you know, when he goes back home, so do you enjoy the game, dear? Well, I did actually. I ran the line. Yeah.
There you go.
Marvellous.
Oh, doesn't he love that? Doesn't
no
he
hesitation.
Love that? Yeah. Well, fantastic. I wonder.
Look at the flares. Unbelievable.
That's a brilliant little cameo from that particular game, isn't it? That's the way it was, and it worked all right. None of the players protested. He gave it the right way, didn't he? Didn't get any verbals. It was all excellent. We talk about the fashion. We talk about his shirt there. There's Brian Moore presenting the game for the big match in London, and he had what these days would be termed an absolute rascal of a jacket. But times, fashions have changed.
Well, they have changed, haven't they? I mean, that's the way it's gone. But like everything else, you know, television matches on television then were just coming to the fore because I mean, back in the 60s, really, it was just, you know, match of the day. That was it. But now everybody was like trying to be, I'm on television. Let's wear what I'd like to wear.
And working down there in the studio in London alongside Brian Moore was Brian Clough. And I get the feeling that was during his 44 days at Leeds when he was saying to the Leeds board, he said, look, we don't like you doing this television too much. And he would probably say pretty directly, I'm going to carry on doing it. And it probably didn't help him in the long run to stay much longer than 44 days at Elland Road. No,
but I just don't think Leeds United was right for Brian Clough. I mean, Brian Clough was a great manager, I don't need to tell you, Jim, great character. Never a dull moment surrounding him, but I think those players at Leeds were just a little bit too big for him. And you know, I think they decided when he came in, no, this is not a fella for us. Maybe got too much to say for himself, and they weren't going to have him at any price. And of course, he lasted, as you said, 44 days.
Indeed, he did. And that season, it went to the wire pretty much. You won it by 3 points from the Villa. Do you have an overriding memory of how that season finished? Was it a feeling of relief? Thank goodness we're out of this lot.
Yeah, it's very difficult because at the end of the day, you know, you're trying to say, well, we've got to get back. And we knew we had that chance. In the last 4 or 5 games, we pushed on and done it. You know, that was the main thing.
I probably should have said to you earlier, Alex, the only Londoner in the team. Of course, you'd played not so far away at Millwall. I guess you were a bit of perhaps the tour guide down there where you were at Brisbane Road.
Well, I was really, but like I said, you know, I mean, that was ironical because I played in the 3rd and 4th division with Millwall, and obviously the 1st division United, and because I had that season in the 2nd division, so I played in all 4 divisions really. Yeah.
Lou, just finally from you, could it ever happen again? Man United relegated?
No chance. Not nowadays.
The game has changed, hasn't it?
The game has changed, yeah.
Okay. Lou, Alex, thank you very much indeed, both of you. We enjoyed it, our little trip to the East End. So did Manchester United. They ended up that season as champions. That's it from the Football League Files. We'll see you next time. Cheerio.